What's going on, guys? Ronan here. We got a lot to cover today in this massive video, as this is the Season 1 finale of What If Ash won the PWC. But before we get into that, I'm going to need you to take a look at these analytical stat bars right here, and you guys already know the drill. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment to feed the algorithm, so that way you'll never miss another upload. And don't forget to turn on notifications. But with that being said, I'm going to pass this over to the person that edited the video for me, because I think you might like their content.
Hey there, Ronin Clan, Ace the Wind Rider here, or you may also know me as Pokemon Ranger Rai. Ronin offered to allow me to talk about my content for a moment, so I just couldn't refuse. Thanks again. You may not know, but besides being the editor of some of his videos and some other really awesome YouTubers here as well, I also have my own channel called The Ranger Base. At The Ranger Base, we love to talk about the real-world inspirations of all of the amazing Pokemon and explain just what makes them unique, not just from a gameplay perspective or from a creations perspective, but from all around how they affect our world and what they mean to us. There's so much lore and history in Pokemon, and there's so much to see and know about the animal world and everything else that inspires this amazing series that we love to talk about. Now, we're almost sitting at 700 subs over at the Ranger Base, but I'm trying really hard to push for that and 1,000 subs as soon as possible. I love making videos like this, and I love animals. I actually have IRL experience working with animals and conservation projects, so this is a big passion project for me. And I really wanted to share this awesome project with you guys here at the Ronin Clan. If you guys are interested in content that's very informative, deep dive, and just engaging to really make you rethink about the Pokemon world, then please feel free to come check us out, after this video of course. And when you do check out that video, make sure you check out some of the links to catch me on other social medias, such as Discord and where it all began on my Tumblr, where I still have an active Ask blog where you can learn more about, as we like to call it, the Raiverse. Because Ranger Rai and the Ranger Base isn't limited to just one place. It actually has a deeper lore, and we really love to encourage you to look at the Pokemon world in a more realistic or different setting. Because believe you and me, if there's one thing we love at the Ranger Base, that me and Ronan have definitely talked about, it's how much realism and influence that the Pokemon world has, and we love to explore it and see just what we can do with it. And we've definitely started doing that over there at the Ranger Base. Thanks again for the time, Ronan, and I hope to see you guys over there too. But first, why don't we get back into What If Ash won the Pokemon World Championship, Part 5.
We begin today finding our heroes Ash and Go on the road, with a new traveling companion, the water specialist Misty. She has decided to join them as the threat of Team Rocket after Mewtwo is too much for her to ignore, since she clearly remembers the last time they went after the clone. Before the trio left the Cerulean Gym, Ash decided to change out some of his Pokemon. So the team he currently has is Crocodile, as he really hasn't had a chance to do anything with the Desert Croc. Then he brings back Scraggy to give it some more experience. The final three consist of Infernape, Swellow, and Snorlax. Now that they are on the road, Go is getting a little bit more intel on this Mewtwo, learning that it is a clone of the Pokemon that he has sought for so long. Not only that, but this Team Rocket is responsible for its creation. Ash tells Go that Mewtwo was supposed to be the strongest in existence. So Giovanni, the malevolent leader of Team Rocket, has always sought it in the pursuit of power. But he thought Giovanni's memory was erased by the clone, so he doesn't know how Giovanni could be remembering it. Misty then adds her experiences in telling Go that they are headed into a very dangerous situation. It's something that someone like him may want to avoid. Someone like me, Go questions, thinking that she may be implying Go isn't as important because he hasn't known Ash as long as she has. But Misty reassures him it's because that he's not really a strong trainer. Battle experience is the only thing that will matter in a situation like this. Go looks at Scorbunny, then to Misty. I don't think so. Ash promised he would take me to the home of Mew, so you won't be getting rid of me that easily. Shrugging her shoulders, Misty relents, saying she tried to warn him. But now, to the topic at hand. Just where are they going? Well, after hearing what Ash had to say, Misty's idea was that they needed to head to see a Psychic-type trainer. But there's only one person in all of Kanto that would be powerful enough to stand a chance at locating Mewtwo. And let's just say, the last time they were there, the person thought it was nothing but playtime for Misty, Ash, and their other friend Brock. But it's the best chance they have, so our heroes find themselves on the edge of Saffron City. The destination is a Saffron gym, and its leader, Sabrina. However, the group is quickly sidetracked by the news of a new gym that has opened up in the city. Our heroes begin to ask around and get this news that the gym has just opened up down the street from the old one. So Ash, Misty, and Go figure that Sabrina must have moved locations, so they head to that one. But when they get there, a crowd is formed, making it hard for the trio to make their way to the front. Eventually, they are able to push their way to the front, but the person that Ash and Misty were expecting is not the one that they see, although it's someone that they share a very familiar history with. The trainer that Ash once entrusted his, at the time, strongest Pokemon to. Anthony. Our heroes listen as Anthony thanks everyone for welcoming him to Saffron City. He hopes that as the one Sabrina chose to replace her, he makes the city proud as she did. It's here that Anthony notices a few familiar faces in the crowd. Ash, he says, come on up. The boy is quick to greet his old friend and asks if he's been staying out of trouble. Anthony tells Ash that he has. That's why he came to Saffron. With Sabrina leaving, they need a new gym leader for the city. So I'm opening up my own fighting type gym. What do you mean Sabrina's leaving? Ash questions, but this is quickly interrupted when one of the local reporters recognizes Ash, asking if he's the same Ash that won the Kanto Battle Frontier. Oh yeah, that's me, he says. Well then, are you here to challenge the new gym for its badge? Oh, no I'm not. I already actually competed in the Indigo League, Ash says, but I'm currently registered in the Pokemon World Tournament, so I'd be happy to take on any challengers in that competition. Is that so? Anthony says. Well, it just so happens that I'm also registered, Ash. Smiling, Ash says if Anthony is asking what he thinks he is. Well, you see, we really never got a chance to battle, and the gym just opened today, so you should help me break in the new battle area. Plus, I think there's someone you're going to want to see, as from the rooftop of the gym, an aggressive yet very happy fighting type lands in front of Anthony. Primeape, Ash yells. It's so good to see you. I can see that you've really grown strong. The pig monkey nods excitedly, wanting to test its strength against its former trainer. So, how about it? Would you like to have a battle with us? Pulling out his Rotom Dex, Ash says he's already called the judge, as a Rotom ref hovers above declaring the start of an official coronation battle. With a smile, everyone heads inside to where we see Go inquiring about the history here. Misty tells Go everything including the bad parts between Ash and Primeape, how it didn't listen, and eventually how Ash tamed it, then released it so it could grow stronger. That's when he gave it to Anthony, and it's been its trainer ever since. Wow, Go says. Ash really is an amazing person. I don't think I could ever release one of my Pokemon, he says, looking at Scorbunny as it eats the popcorn that they had bought. Now we find ourselves in the battle area. The ref has declared this a 2-on-2 battle. Ash and Anthony can both make substitutions, and it's over when one side is out of Pokemon. At his side stands both Primeape and Hitmonchan. Ash is impressed. It doesn't look like either one of them have missed a day of training. Asking if he's ready, Anthony chooses his first combatant in the fast-punching Hitmonchan. Ash being Ash decides that he's going to match fighting types. Scraggy, I choose you. Popping from its ball, the Headbutt Pokemon is ready to go, showing the fire that Ash has come to notice in it recently. Taking the first move, Anthony calls for a Focus Energy. Hitmonchan brings its arms in closer to its sternum, readying for what's next. Wasting no time, Ash calls for the move that Scraggy is most comfortable with, Headbutt. Rushing in, the fighting type launches its Skull Frenzy at the Hitmon, connecting with one of its gloves. While there is power, it's unrefined, as this only pushes Hitmonchan back a few inches, with little to no damage from the impact. This is then amplified when Anthony makes his next call, a Bullet Punch that connects before Scraggy can defend, much to Ash's dismay. But Scraggy takes the hook to the jaw like a champ as it tucks and rolls at the command of Ash, so it is able to come to a stop with relative ease. Scraggy is then back up on the attack with a Focus Blast. This ball of aura closes in faster than Anthony or his Pokemon can track, and it collides, to which Ash and Scraggy celebrate with the success of the attack. But Anthony just smiles, telling Ash that he's going to need to do better. It is here that Ash sees what he is talking about. Hitmonchan's stance is so tight that unless they get in close, the amount of damage will be minimal. This is then compounded when Hitmonchan taunts Scraggy that goads them on into attacking with another Headbutt. Ash tells it to hold on, but this is a moot point as another Bullet Punch connects. This time, Scraggy is sent tumbling into the wall of the gym, leaving Ash in an awkward position. Calling to his Mon, he weighs his options. Scraggy is looking a little punch-drunk for the time being, while Hitmonchan seems to be in total control. The baby wobbles its way back to the battle area, to which Ash pulls out his ball to recall it, but Scraggy looks back at Ash with an intense glare, almost saying, "Let me do this." "Okay," Ash says. "We'll do it your way, Scraggy." Anthony compliments Ash and his Pokemon's tenacity, but Guts won't win a battle on its own. Both our heroes know this, and Scraggy answers the call of its trainer with an evolutionary glow, as Ash calls his name. In a burst of brilliance, Scraggy takes its evolution to Scrafty, impressing both Anthony and Primeape. So, Ash hasn't lost who he is, the pig monkey thinks to itself. Scrafty looks down its opponent with a defiant look as its head begins to glow with the purple aura. Ash knows instantly what this is, their path to victory. but they need to break Hitmonchan's stance. Suddenly, he has an idea. Scrafty, if we want to win, then we will have to do this together. The fighting type nods as it charges a focus blast at the command of its trainer. Then it rushes in, to which Anthony tells Hitmonchan to keep tight. Don't let them break its guard. Stiffening up, it heeds Anthony's orders, readying for the next encounter. But Scrafty's new speed allows it to end up being eye to eye with Hitmonchan as it peers through the gloved hands. Scrafty pushes the focus blast up from the elbows of its opponent that forces the arms apart. Then, at the command of Ash, Scrafty knocks Hitmonchan in the head with its head using Zen Headbutt. The force of this move causes two things. First, Hitmonchan flinches, much to Anthony's horror and Ash's pleasure. The second is Scrafty does a quick flip, allowing it to come around for a second Zen Headbutt. As the move closes in, Hitmonchan is able to get over its flinch from the first one, but there's only one real thing that can prevent a loss here, and that's a tie. Anthony then orders a counter as the psychic type move connects. In a brilliant display of fighting spirit, the two knock each other out, bringing the first battle to an end. Both trainers smile. That was an impressive chain of events, Ash. I didn't think you would be able to come back from that one-sided beating. Well, I believed in Scrafty, and it answered the call, he says, recalling his mon. All of this excitement has Primeape's blood boiling. It jumps in, demonstrating that it wants to test its strength against its ex-trainer. Is that so, Ash says? Well then, Primeape, I have just the opponent for you. Infernape, I choose you. At the crack of the ball, Ash's Sinnoh Ace takes to the field, staring down this fighting type. Infernape, that Primeape used to be my strongest Pokemon. It was the best fighting type I ever had. It spent all of its time training to grow even stronger. So let's test your power against it. Primeape surges with energy at the sight of another monkey fighting type. It can't wait for this, the moment that it shows Ash how strong it has become. But it's not the only one that is excited. Infernape hasn't had a real battle since its true rival, so its flames burn brighter and hotter in anticipation for this one. In this moment, the two share a look almost to say, "Don't disappoint me." Ash takes the first move this time, calling for a dig to mask Infernape's movements. While this would normally be a good call, Anthony has a counter ready for this as he calls for a stomping tantrum that begins to send shockwaves into the ground. This forces Infernape to surface to prevent any serious damage, but it connects with Primeape, stopping the attack. This was just a brief exchange testing each other's power. Both Pokemon and trainers know it, so Anthony turns on the pressure, ordering a close combat. Ash counters with a power-up punch that Infernape is able to land first, clearly showing who is the faster of the two. But the close combat causes more damage as it hits with multiple strikes. It's here, at this moment, that all parties feel a sense of euphoria. This is a pure fighting type battle, just testing the strength of the opponent. That's what it's about, Anthony says. Smiling, Ash says he agrees. Infernape hasn't been this happy in a long time. In the crowd, Go can see it again. Ash is happiest in the moment of a Pokemon battle. How does he do that? If this Giovanni and Mewtwo situation is as dangerous as they say, he should be worried beyond belief. But Misty tells Go that it's just Ash. He's always been like that. So it's best to just enjoy yourself. Back on the field, the two have exchanged blows such as Aerial Ace and Power-Up Punch. Infernape is starting to get low on its health. The same is true for Primeape as well. However, this is where Infernape begins to shine as a very familiar power begins to surge from the fire type. With its eyes aglaze in a red hue, Infernape's fire blazes, catching Primeape and Anthony off guard. The two haven't experienced an intensity like this before. It's clear that the growth Ash has been far greater than what they have experienced. Anthony gives the order for a close combat, which Primeape begins to conduct, but in a burst of flames and power, the command of a Flare Blitz strikes with deadly precision, bringing the battle to an end. The crowd is surprised at this result. Their new gym leader just lost. It's so quiet that you can hear a pin drop. The Rotom ref makes the call for Ash as the winner. As a result, Ash's rank now changes to 6,499 out of 10,000, while Anthony's drops to 6,657. But this isn't Ash's concern. It's the reception of Anthony. The only thing that he can say is thank you. Then he turns to the crowd. You know, I would say that for his first battle as a gym leader, Anthony didn't do too bad against a winner of the Battle Frontier. After all, those trainers are Elite 4 level. Don't worry though, Anthony was holding back. I'm sure he will make you guys proud. The crowd takes Ash's word as truth, celebrating the battle that they just watched. After all, it was pretty intense. Anthony thanks Ash from under his breath. He really wants to be a leader that they can be proud of. Ash just smiles. Later, when the crowd clears out, Ash says his goodbyes to Anthony and Primeape. After learning that Sabrina is still in town for a few more days, he and his friends realize that they can't wait around, and they need to see her as soon as possible. So, with that, they depart from the gym. Go mentions what Ash did for Anthony. You said he was holding back, but it didn't look like that for me. True, Ash says, but the people didn't need to know that. He needs their support. Besides, anyone who battles Infernape is really at a disadvantage. Its blaze is second to none. The battle was over the moment it activated. Really good questions? While Scorbunny can do nothing but think about the display of power that Infernape used in that battle. But our heroes have little time to converse, as they find themselves at a place of both good and bad memories, the former Saffron Gym. Now we find ourselves with Jessie and James. The two are preparing to head out when they are summoned by Domino. Giovanni wants to see you, she says before walking off. Looking at each other, the two share a look of concern. Meowth has been gone for a while, leaving them to wonder if it got caught. But they have to play the part, still torn between their duties of Team Rocket and the promise they made so long ago. Reluctantly, the two tell their team of grunts to stand by. They will return with orders in a few moments. Heading up to Giovanni's office, each step bears the weight of guilt as they reach the door of Boss Rocket. The two say nothing but a deep sigh as they push on the door. Inside, Giovanni sits watching a video. Instantly, the duo knows the subject of the video, Mewtwo. Standing quietly, they listen to Giovanni and his seemingly infatuation with the clone. Look at that power, he says. Whatever this thing is, I must have it. It is clear to me that it is the property of Team Rocket. Then, Gio pauses the video as he turns to address Jessie and James. After studying every bit of information that I've been able to find of this creature, I've come to one conclusion. Finally breaking their silence, James asks what it is. With a hint of frustration, Gio says that this thing appears to be a psychic type, so it will be very difficult to battle against. So, in the spirit of you two having a fighting chance, Gio then reaches into his jacket pocket and throws a set of Pokeball at Jessie and James. I'm refunding these to you for the commendable service as of late. They are some of the Pokemon you've donated to the cause over the last couple of years. Both Jessie and James' eyes widen. Who's in these balls? Is this just a ruse? Jessie then asks what was the other thing that Giovanni discovered about the creature. Gio then states that it won't be captured easily. They need something that is guaranteed to work, so he has a special mission for the two. One of his moles inside of the Silphco reports that they have finally refined the technology that is used in the production of the Master Ball. Their mission is to storm the building with their team and capture this tech so that Team Rocket can use it to develop the ultimate ball. What if we fail? James asks. With disdain in his voice, Giovanni simply states that failure is not to be tolerated. You are to succeed at any cost. The leader then turns. Now go. Bring me what I desire, and your futures in Team Rocket will be changed forever. Matori then comes into the room, breaking the tension. Sir, I have something you need to see, she says in a panic. Jessie and James take this as their chance to leave. As the door shuts behind them, they can hear Giovanni uttering a very angry, "What?" Now the two have a lot to consider. The boss is finally seeing them for the value that they provide to the organization. He said their futures would be guaranteed if they brought him what he desired. With much to consider, Jessie and James return to their team. On the way there, they begin to discuss Meowth. What is taking it so long? If they should wait or not? Eventually, James gives in to his base nature and relents to Jessie, demanding that they forget the Scratch Cat and do as the boss asks. Back with their group of grunts, Jessie, with bass in her voice, "We are heading out on a special mission assigned by Giovanni himself." One grunt asks, "Where is that, Leader Jessie?" With a very pleased smile, Jessie says only one thing, "We are going to Saffron City." Back with our heroes, Ash pushes on the door, unsure of what to expect, but they quickly find out as they are met with some familiar faces. Sabrina and her family, as well as many Psychic-type Pokemon. There are floating boxes and items that are being moved throughout the doors and windows of the gym, but everything stops when the former gym leader senses the presence of a person who made a profound impact on her in the past. Turning, Ash is met with a soul-piercing look from Sabrina, to which Go asks if it was a good idea to come here. It seems to be a place of hostility. Misty, with shakiness in her voice, tells Go that they should be fine, but just in case, to be ready to make a run for the door. Suddenly, Ash glows in a purple aura and begins levitating as Sabrina scowls a word, "You!" before teleporting in front of our hero. Nothing but silence echoes in the gym, tension filling the air. But when Ash gulps, Sabrina breaks the charade with a chuckle, dropping Ash on his butt. Her parents then follow suit, telling our heroes that it was so hard to keep a straight face. Misty and Go both breathe a sigh of relief as Sabrina helps Ash up. "Sabrina, I guess you could sense us, right?" "Yep, from the moment you entered the city," she says. "That battle you had with Anthony was interesting to see." "Wait, you were there?" Go says, to which Sabrina looks at him with bewilderment. Misty tells Go that Sabrina is a Psychic-type trainer, and she has great Psychic-type abilities of her own. "I saw it in my mind," she says, cutting off Misty. "Oh, like a movie?" Go says, with curiosity. "Kinda," Sabrina says. It's here that everyone gets reacquainted. The formalities are short but important, with Ash and Misty asking why Sabrina is shutting down the gym. Simply put, thanks to what Ash did for her, she has been able to grow, and Sabrina feels that she has outgrown her role as a gym leader. So she made a challenge for a position in the Kanto Elite Four, and after a back and forth battle with Prima, Bruno, Agatha, and Lance, she was able to secure her spot among Kanto's elites. So she's closing the gym. There are a lot of mixed memories here, so it's time for me to move on anyways. This prompts Ash to ask a question about his old friend, the Pokemon that he never actually caught, Haunter. A solemn look crosses Sabrina's face. When she announced that she was closing the gym, there were a lot of mixed feelings about it. A lot of my students decided to go and start on their own journeys. Haunter was no exception. He had made friends with one of my students in particular, so it decided to join him on his journey. But with how busy things have been as of late, I've lost track of them, so I can't say where Haunter is. This makes Ash sad. He was hoping to see it again, but this is quickly interrupted when Go clears his throat to remind them of why they are there. Oh right, Ash says. Sabrina, there is another reason why we are here. We need your help. This comes as a shock to the new elite, as Sabrina thought that she would be the last person who was being asked for help. But in her eyes, what Ash and his friends did for her is something that she could never truly repay telling them so. She will do anything she can to help them. Again, this is another instance that Go finds himself asking about how Ash's relationship was with this person. Everyone they have met from Ash's past, it seems that everyone Ash touches is changed for the better. This gives Go a strange sense of pride in the friendship that the two have built over the last couple of weeks. Through this whole self-thought session with Go, Ash and Misty have been explaining everything that has been happening to Sabrina. The psychic grows quiet for a moment, looking at her parents. They nod at each other. Sabrina begins to tell Ash that she may know the location of this Mewtwo, but then she is cut off by the alarm sound from all around the city. Knowing that this is something bad, Sabrina's dad mind skips around the city until he finds what is happening. However, it isn't long before the answer is known, stating that the Silphco building is under attack. It seems people dressed in uniforms with a giant red R on the chest are responsible. Team Rocket, our heroes say collectively. Turning to Sabrina, Ash asks if she knows where this building is. Smiling, she says that she does. Then Sabrina tells her parents to continue with the gym. She won't be long, before telling Ash and his friends to hold on. Things could get bumpy. In a flash, Ash and his friends find themselves in a research lab of some sort. In front of them stand some familiar faces, Jesse and James, with some of their Pokemon that we haven't seen in a long while. Gourgeist, Frillish, Yamask, and Inkay. They are causing havoc in the lab while the duo is downloading something from the computer. Ash interrupts them, asking what they are up to now, to which they turn, saying the twerp is too late. They have what they need. Sabrina and Ash don't hesitate, as an Alakazam teleports in at the mental order from its trainer and Pikachu, both combining their attacks. But Team Rocket was prepared for this, as they step on a tile that begins to glow into light. In a flash, they are gone before the Thunderbolt and Focus Blast connects. That's not good, Ash says. Whatever the reason they were here, it has to do with Mewtwo. Sensing another presence, Sabrina's eyes glow as a lone scientist begins to float up from behind a desk. Asking what was stolen, the scientist, in a bit of shock, begins mumbling something. It takes a moment, but the words Master Ball are finally spoken. Dropping the scientist, Sabrina now knows the gravity of the situation. Then, in a flash, the groups find themselves back at the gym. Wait, Ash says, we need to go after Team Rocket and find Mewtwo. Knowing he's angry, Sabrina tells the boy to calm down. She knows the importance of this. Turning to her father, she says it's time. The old man nods as he and Sabrina sit. Ash asks what they are doing, to which Sabrina's mother tells them that a few years back, Sabrina and her father were detecting an intense psychic presence that was full of malice, hate, and confusion. But for some reason, it turned into a feeling of loss, though it didn't seem to be a threat. Sabrina and her father tried to keep mental tabs on it, but over time, this being grew aware of their presence, so it took greater lengths to hide itself. But ever so often, they were able to track it down when it dropped its mental barriers. With your revelation of this Mewtwo, I believe they think this presence and it are the same thing, so now they are trying to find it, but they will need silence. So Ash and company, watch, hoping this will work. Back at the rocket base, Jesse and James have turned in the Master Ball tech to Dr. Namba. The scientist is elated that he can finally use the tech to combine with his own. The two watch as the doctor reveals a piece of tech they haven't seen in a very long time, not since they were in Johto. You designed the Dark Ball, James says in shock. With a malevolent snicker, Namba says that he did, and now that he has the tech of the Master Ball, he will create the ultimate Pokeball, able to house Arceus himself. Both Jesse and James look at each other with great concern. They saw what those balls did when the the Marauder had them, so they can only imagine what it'll be capable of now. Realizing that they may be walking a path that they are not comfortable with, the two excuse themselves to reconsider their options. Once outside the lab, the topic of Meowth comes up. They went on this mission and yet it still hasn't come back. They know that it had planned to get Fuji away from the base, but they are both sure it shouldn't have taken this long. Deciding they need to find the Scratch Cat, they break up, asking around the base if anyone has seen their foul-mouthed cat. They both take different floors, agreeing to meet in the middle. This takes a few hours, but eventually they complete the self-assigned task, though the both show up empty-handed. They don't get it. Meowth should have been back by now, but there is little time for thought, as an alarm sounds calling everyone to the main hangar of the base. Upon arrival, Giovanni stands on a platform dressed in his best war garb. He goes on to speak about an impending battle as Team Rocket is at war. This will be the rebirth of our great organization, he says. What awaits you on the other side will test your commitment to Team Rocket. Those of you who make it out will be rewarded greatly for your success. Those of you who fail, well, let's just say I hope you go missing in action. The group of Rocket subordinates look on with confusion. Why is Giovanni talking like we are heading to war? Then Nambu appears at the side of Giovanni with something in his hands. My leader, here is the weapon that will give you ultimate power. With a sadistic smile, Gio grabs the ball, then tells each of the grunt to come to the front. He has something for them. It takes a few minutes, but Jesse and James make it to the front. Giovanni smiles as they are presented with the pills that were developed from the Dynamax fruit. With these comes a Dynamax band that is clad in the Rocket style. They both take them, unsure of what's next, but they won't have to wait long as the last band and pill is handed out. Giovanni says it's time. Then, with the push of a button, the floors glow in a blinding light, and in a flash, the hangar is left empty as Team Rocket heads to war. Back with our heroes, Sabrina and her father are hard at work, but their efforts thus far have been in vain. Ash and his friends are growing impatient, as with every moment, the threat of Team Rocket grows. But it's Go who breaks the silence, with a, "How long is this going to take?" Misty tells him to be quiet, to which Sabrina seconds with a brief mental attack on the boy. But it is at this moment that her dad asks if she can feel that. The barrier has dropped. Realizing he is right, Sabrina tells Ash and his friends to hurry. They have to move. "Put your hands on my back." Doing so, Sabrina warns them things will get bumpy once more as they disappear in a flash. Moments pass before our heroes can open their eyes, but once they do, the only thing they see is the sight of destruction. But what comes next is most concerning, as Ash can only say one thing: not the home of Mew. This immediately gets the attention of Go. "What do you mean, home of Mew?" he asks in a panic. The group looks on as we pan out to reveal the place that Mew is known to live, the Tree of Beginning. But the once peaceful sanctuary of the mythical Pokemon is now the site of an all-out battle, as around the group, a war is being waged. What we see are many of the grunts battling with the wild Pokemon of the inhabited area. It's so bad that even the legendary Reggie trio that lived in the area are battling with the hordes of Rocket grunts. Normally, they would be able to hold their own, but against the likes of Team Rocket, the severity of the situation is revealed when Ash and his friends get a first-hand look at the trump card of the evildoers. Suddenly, pink and purple lights begin to envelop the area, as they begin to bear witness to normal Pokemon beginning to grow to the size of a building. Dynamax, Ash and Go say in tandem. It's here that everything falls into place for Ash. The fruit, that's the reason why Jesse and James were after it. They must have found a way to use it without being in Galar. That means all of Team Rocket now has access to that. Misty and Sabrina begin to ask something, but are interrupted with an explosion. Looking up, they see at the top of the tree a battle is underway. Though things are at a distance, Ash knows that that is Mewtwo. "We need to get there," Ash says. "We can't let Giovanni capture Mewtwo. If that's the case, then we are going to need help. At once, everybody releases what Pokemon they have with them. From Ash, it's all hands on deck, with Pikachu, Infernape, Crocodile, Snorlax, Swallow, and Scrafty. Go has Scorbunny and Dragonair. Misty sends in her Gyarados, Psyduck, Starmie, and Politoed, and a new Mon, Clauncher. Sabrina summons out all of her Pokemon: Alakazam, Espeon, Hypno, Swoobat, Metagross, and Slowking. The counter-assault begins, with the small forces pushing their way through the battle, taking out any Rocket grunts that they can. While Go and Misty aim to stop the grunts, both Ash and Sabrina know the importance of getting past them, so Sabrina tells Ash she will create a direct line for him and his Pokemon to go. In one devastating display of psychic energy, all of her Pokemon blast a clearing. "Ash, hurry! We will hold them off here." Taking his chance, Ash nods as he and all of his Pokemon proceed to begin the ascent of the tree. However, Go notices this and won't let Ash leave him behind, as if this is Mew's home, then he needs to be the one to protect it, so he begins to make his way, mounting Dragonair's back as they skate through what remains of the clearing, only for Sabrina to yell for him to wait, but Go is out of range of her call. I hope he has the iron will that Ash has, Sabrina thinks to himself. Atop the tree, we find ourselves in the middle of a battle with the leader of Team Rocket, Giovanni, and the obsession of his heart, Mewtwo. The clone is defending itself, struggling with the onslaught of attacks from multiple Pokemon such as Persian, Machamp, Arcanine, and Golem. Normally, it wouldn't be a problem for the ultimate Pokemon, but the power that has been added with the Dynamax is making things a little difficult. I don't know why, but I have the strangest feeling we've done this before. Now tell me, why would that be? Geo says to the clone. However, Mewtwo remains silent, trying not to cause harm to any of its attackers while also protecting the injured Pokemon that it seems to have charge of. Unfortunately, things get more intense for the clone when Giovanni adds another Pokemon to the mix in the form of a Dugtrio. Boss Rocket wastes no time in Dynamaxing it with capsules that he had created. Now things are getting tough. Mewtwo is being pulled in too many directions, causing it to take blows attempting to guard the weakened Pokemon. This ends up with the clone being driven into the ground with enough force that craters it. However, Mewtwo is up. Its only concern is the Pokemon it needs to protect. But while this is a concern, it's not enough to break Mewtwo's concentration, which is what Giovanni is trying to do. An opening is all I need, he thinks to himself, as Mewtwo is able to gather the young ones behind it to create a barrier. However, the moment Giovanni was waiting for presents itself when none other than Ash makes his presence known, calling out to Mewtwo. "What are you doing here?" he yells. "The distraction," Geo says with a smirk as Machamp drops its giant hands on Mewtwo. Readying the Dark Master Ball, Giovanni walks calmly to the clone. "You know, this could have been avoided if you would have just worked together with me, but you rejected my business proposal, so I will take away your will, and you will become what you have always meant to be, a tool." The last thing Mewtwo sees before a light is Giovanni and his sadistic smile. Ash watches as the Pokemon he came to save is now a prisoner of the one person it spent its life avoiding. Rage and frustration begin to boil. Why? Why couldn't you just leave Mewtwo alone? It just wanted to live its own life. That's all it wanted. Well, if it isn't Ash, the one who's always seems to be the source of my plans ending. When was the last time we met? Was it Unova? It was, when you thwarted my plans to awaken the forces of nature. It seems you have a debt that is owed, and I intend to cash in, Giovanni says as his Dynamax army readies themselves for battle. But Ash won't stand by. He needs to save Mewtwo. I don't know how you remembered Mewtwo, but I'm only going to say this once. Release Mewtwo and leave this place. Boss Rocket just laughs. You are giving me demands? It seems you forgot who I am. Well, let me show you. Attack! The 5 Dynamax Pokemon begin their assault on Ash and his Mons. Ash orders them to dodge. Knowing he needs to get the ball from Geo, Ash orders Pikachu to rush in and steal the ball. The mouse does so, while Ash's other Pokemon stand off against the building-sized Pokemon that are now attacking them. Staring down the possible end, Ash orders for his Pokemon to attack with their best moves, so they can try any type of distraction for Pikachu. It seems to be working, as Giovanni's attention is solely on Ash. Things appear to be in our hero's favor, as the one thing that he was hoping to happen does. The Dynamax time is running low, as both Arcanine and Machamp revert to their regular size. This allows Swellow and Snorlax to land an ending blow that knocks them out of the battle. Then, Persian and Golem follow suit, allowing Infernape and Scrafty to knock them out. With only his Dynamax Dugtrio left, Geo begins to look a little upset. Ash points this out, saying that he only planned for Mewtwo, but he doesn't have enough left to battle Ash and his Pokemon. It is at this moment that Pikachu makes its move for the Dark Master Ball. Unfortunately, Ash's thought that Giovanni only planned for Mewtwo falls short-sighted when the mouse is intercepted by some familiar faces. Jesse, James, Inkay, and Frillish. The two knock Pikachu down, taking control of it. "No," Ash yells, to which Geo just laughs. "You seriously thought I would be as short-sighted as you? You will do well to listen then, boy. Unlike you, I learned from my mistakes. I had a feeling that you would be here, so I planned for it. These two have proven to be of great use as of late. So is this it, Jesse and James? You would betray Mewtwo's trust like that? You don't get it, kid. We are Team Rocket, so we serve the boss first and foremost," James says. "Oh yeah, well, it seems Meowth didn't share the same thought. It was the one who warned me about you guys hunting Mewtwo. I guess you guys aren't as close as you claim." "No, Meowth is still one of us," Jesse says. "We just haven't seen it in a while." This is where Giovanni begins to laugh uncontrollably as his Dugtrio's Dynamax ends. "You mean the traitor?" This catches Jesse and James by surprise as Domino brings in both Meowth and the prisoner Dr. Fuji. "Now, let me ask you, my newest Rocket admins, are you with me or against me?" Now we flash back to the moment Meowth broke into Fuji's cell. Meowth easily breaks through the vent that leads into the cell. The old man stands up asking where the trainer is who was talking to him, but Meowth tells the old man that it was him. The Scratch Cat is here to save him. But why would you save me? Because I once made a promise to someone, the Pokemon you call Mewtwo. This immediately perks up the old man, who was carrying some sort of defeated look on his face since he was put in the cell the last time. What relation do you have to the clone? Fuji asks. Meowth says that they will have time for that later, but we gotta go. This shifts the sense of urgency for them as they begin to shuffle up the wall, but just as soon as Meowth reaches the opening, it slams shut, along with any hope that they had. Now, with the look of terror on his face, Meowth begins to panic, slashing at the door and the air vent cover, but it's no use. They are now both trapped. Well, it seems you are now a guest, just like me, so you better make yourself comfortable, because you will be here a while. Hanging its head, the cat slouches down in defeat. Well, since we're going nowhere, how about you tell me how you know Mewtwo? With a sigh, the cat then goes on to recount the events of their last encounter and how the clone erased the memories of everyone but a select few. The Scratch Cat was one of them, so Meowth feels it owes the clone to protect its existence at all costs. Wow. That's quite a story, Fuji says. I'm glad Mewtwo was able to find itself and quell its rage. The two have a moment of silence before Meowth says, you know my story, what's yours? There is a moment of hesitation, but the old man eventually breaks his silence. I was the scientist charged with its creation. Giovanni came to me because I was the best in my field. He didn't care about the cost, but he wanted me to create the most powerful Pokemon for him. So, you did, Meowth says? No, not at first. You see, I once had a little girl. She was the light of my life, the reason for my existence. But fate is cruel, and happiness can only last for so long. It wasn't long after Giovanni came to me before my daughter had fallen ill. Then, I was alone. Stricken with grief, I began planning to get my daughter back by any means necessary, but I was laughed out of the scientific community, denied funding for my outlandish theories, told I was crazy for thinking a man could create life. Soon, my grief turned to rage. Everyone I had ever trusted, ever loved, had betrayed me, but I knew that I could do it. I just needed someone to give me the money. So, I found myself at the door of the only person I knew would fund my research, the leader of the world's most evil organization, Team Rocket. The deal with Giovanni was simple. I could conduct my research and save my daughter, but for him, I must produce the ultimate weapon. In my anger and grief, I did just as he asked, working for months, with many subjects perishing. Then, I came to a conclusion. There was only one way I would be able to successfully create a clone. I needed the DNA of a being that was pure, untainted by generations of selective mutation. I needed the DNA of Mew, so began my search. I traveled the world, following any rumors or legends of the Mirage Pokemon. Time passed, and hope began to fade. Giovanni was growing tired of no results on my end, but then in a temple on the other side of the world, we found it. A fossilized eyelash. It was small, and the amount of DNA we were able to extract was even smaller. But I knew if I could replicate the DNA, then I would have what I needed to accomplish both goals. The work then began. My progress moved quickly, and within only a few months, I had 2 viable embryos. They were just missing one vital part, the DNA of the most destructive creature on the planet, man. So, I was able to supply that. One embryo got the DNA of my daughter, and the other was given the DNA of a certain individual. Once the incubation process began, things moved even quicker. I was able to make out the difference between the two physically within a few short weeks. Then it came time. Before my daughter had met her grim fate, I had her brain waves downloaded into a computer to save who she was. With the hard part over, I was able to implant those waves into her new body. It had taken me countless hours and resources, but I finally had my daughter back. I was overjoyed, and so was Giovanni, but hubris came at a cost. I rushed the replication of Mew's DNA, and the synthetic version was unstable. It was the version that I had used to create the body of my daughter. I had to watch as all my efforts failed while the body slowly broke down into nothing. There I was again, a broken man, with everything that I held dear gone. That was until something on the monitoring system for Mewtwo caught my eye. It was brief, but the brainwaves changed ever so slightly. At first, I thought that it was just the clone's body beginning to break down as Amber's did, Amber? Mewtwo questions. The name of my daughter. It was a pretty name. Her mother chose it before she left us. But we are getting off topic. It wasn't the DNA failing like I thought. It was something that was much more beautiful. There were two different sets of waves in that single body. In this moment, I realized my mistake. I gave Mewtwo more of the real DNA than the synthetic, so it was powerful enough to survive. I don't know how, but the essence of my daughter ended up in the mind of the clone. It was then I did everything I could to keep it alive, until one day it awoke and broke out of its incubation tube. This was a time of celebration in the lab. All of us were overjoyed in seeing the culmination of all of our efforts, but I knew that I needed to protect it as any parent would protect their child. So I did the only thing I could do. I provoked it by sending the clone on a path of destruction, in hopes that we would all perish. However, I didn't expect it to go as far as it did. Everyone and everything was eliminated, as if a child didn't get the way it wanted. I thought I was going to be the final target of its aggression, but in a split second, my Amber, I could see her in its eyes. Then I found myself in a region far away, and that's it. Now we are here, and it is being hunted once more. I wish there was something I could do, Fuji says as he stares at the wall. Meowth begins to console the old man, as we fade to a room with Domino as she pushes stop on a console, and we fade to the present time as Giovanni pushes stop on a recorder. Dr. Fuji, you've been keeping this inside the whole time. It must have eaten you alive. It's a good thing that Meowth was here for you to confide in, wasn't it? This is where Giovanni reveals the entirety of his plan, as Meowth is let out of its cuffs. Meowth was working with him the whole time. It told him everything, and it was at the order of Giovanni that Meowth tell Ash. That way, Gio could have his revenge against the trainer for what happened in Unova. Do you see, Gio says? You were never winning this. Now, let me show you the power of the ultimate weapon. As the leader of Team Rocket sends in the one Pokemon he's longed to have control of, Mewtwo. As the clone appears, a very familiar feeling washes over Ash. The same one that he had the last time a Dark Ball was used to capture a Pokemon. The life in Mewtwo's eyes is gone. The expression on its face is blank. Ash tries to plead with it to remember. It let him remember, but nothing. Giovanni is tickled with himself. He is only moments away from restoring Team Rocket to its former greatness, but there's one that will stand against him. Ash won't let Giovanni leave here with Mewtwo, but the Rocket leader is more than happy to take on the boy. Don't worry, you will be the first to fall under the boot of the new Team Rocket, Giovanni says in a maniacal laughter. He then pulls out his last Dynamax pill and breaks it, triggering Mewtwo to take the transformation. The clone begins to contort as it grows in size. The mere presence of it is enough to cause Ash to shake, but he can't be afraid for Mewtwo's sake. Don't worry, we will save you, the boy yells as he and all of his Pokemon charge in for an attack. While Ash tries to beat the odds, we follow up with Meowth as it rejoins Jesse and James. What was that, Meowth? All that talk we needed to save Mewtwo only to be a double agent? That's low, James says. Wait, I tried to tell you guys about this, but you were so caught up in Team Rocket to even hear what I had to say. So I figured if I can't beat them, then I'll join them. Well, you could have told us, Jesse says. Things would have been much less tense if we knew. Yeah, but you two can't play the part for an extended period of time, so it was better to leave you in the dark. Jesse and James are appalled at Meowth's lack of faith in them. How long have they been together? She begins to berate the feline, which just causes Meowth to argue back. While those two are going at it, Domino joins the group with their prisoner. Isn't it beautiful, she says, referring to the battle that is going on between the boss and the twerp. Domino is musing heavily over Giovanni. The idea of Boss Rocket finally achieving the glory he foretold for so long seems to have dulled the Black Tulip's senses. However, her distraction is quickly interrupted when we get a last-minute entrant to this battle. Go. He, Scorbunny, and Dragonair have finally made their way through the massive Dynamax army at the base of the tree. Go declares, "Don't worry, Ash, he's here." Seeing this as a threat to their goal, Domino charges James with guarding Fuji while she deals with his brat. James watches as she intercepts Go, while Fuji finally breaks his silence. Please, we have to hurry. Over with Go, he is met with Domino, who quickly puts the brakes on his plans with the Team Rocket capture rings that subdue any weak Pokemon in an instant. Hey, what's your problem, Go says. So, you're the new brat. Well, I'm known as Domino, Team Rocket's Black Tulip. My job is simple. To make sure Giovanni is uninterrupted while he takes his vengeance against the boy known as Ash. The one thing I was told is if his friends interfere, then things could get complicated. So you should just sit and enjoy the show. It's going to be a good one. Go knows that he can't do this, looking at Scorbunny and Dragonair. The two begin to struggle and shifting to break their binds, but the more they squirm, the more electricity surges through them. Domino does nothing but laugh at the futility of this. Now we find ourselves with Ash. His Pokemon aren't looking so hot, as they've both lost Boss Swallow, and Scrafty. Ash isn't liking his chances. Every attempt to break through to get to Mewtwo is met with a swipe of the massive clone's immense presence. The truth of the situation is beginning to set in for Ash. The only way he's going to get through is if he actually starts attacking to cause damage. He then addresses his Pokemon. Listen, you guys, I know I said I wanted to save Mewtwo, but it looks like the only way we can do that is if we end this battle by any means necessary. This causes all of them to turn, looking at their trainer. This is something they never thought that they would hear from him, but they can understand why. Pikachu more than any of them. With the help of his starter, Ash rallies his remaining Pokemon for one final push. Giovanni finds this last stand amusing. That's it. Give me everything, he says. I want to end you in the most brutal way possible. Giovanni watches as Ash's final assault begins. The intensity of this moment has brought out even the dormant power that lies within Infernape as its blaze surges to life. The last image Ash sees is all of his Pokemon working together before everything fades to black. Now we find ourselves with a dim-witted trio at the moment Fuji made his plea. Jessie and Meowth are still in a full-on argument until the feline says, okay, that's enough, causing Jessie to stop in mid-sentence. We have to move, it says, as the Scratch Cat slashes at the binds of Fuji. Quick, while they're distracted. Wait, what's going on, Meowth? You said you came clean to the boss about everything, James says. Yeah. How are you going to change sides all of a sudden, Jessie seconds? You two are really that dense. I was playing two sides all along. With the two of you off on Cloud 9 with the way the boss had been treating you, it was up to Meowth to come up with a plan. So, I figured the best way to move about and not draw attention was to be in the middle, moving in plain sight. This way, we could keep our promise. Now listen, the old man has a way that may be able to save Mewtwo, but we have to act fast, while no one is watching. The old man then pulls out a strange glowing stone. Get this to Mewtwo, and it may be able to free the clone from the control of the Master Dark Ball. Wait, isn't that, but Jessie is unable to finish her sentence as the strike of the attack of Mewtwo lays waste to the whole area, engulfing everyone in a maelstrom of wind and debris. Once the dust settles, the only thing left standing is the soulless clone and its master. Geo muses at the destruction he's caused. He knew Mewtwo was powerful, but this far surpasses even his expectations. Boss Rocket wants to thank Fuji for holding up his end of the bargain, but when he looks around, he can barely make out the surrounding area. However, it's soon that we can see everyone begin to stir. First Domino, Go, and his Pokemon, then Fuji, Jessie, and Meowth. But where's James? Well, we quickly find him blown away down by where Ash was. It takes him a bit long to pull himself up from the dirt nap he was just taking, but the reason is soon revealed as Ash pulls himself from the place out of the hole that James was just in. While Giovanni is a bit upset about the boy still having any life in him, he is satisfied with the results as Ash appears broken. While looking around, all of his Pokemon, they're gone. Dropping to his knees, we see Ash begin to shed tears for them, thinking the worst. Now finally satisfied with his revenge, Giovanni tells the boy that they are even for what happened in Unova. If he knows what's good for him, Ash will take this gift and leave Team Rocket to their plans with no further interference. But as that sentence is finished, a burst erupts from the ground right next to Ash. It's Crocodile and Pikachu with Snorlax and Infernape. While the latter appear injured beyond the point of battling, Pikachu and Crocodile still appear to have some energy left, which Ash is surprised about. Are you guys sure? The two nod. They have a mission to save the clone, and that's what they are going to do. Smiling, Ash drops his bag, pulling out two things as he addresses Giovanni. You won't win. We won't let you, Ash says. And just how do you plan to stop me, Gio questions, noting that Ash is looking a little bit low on reinforcements. It's here that Go notices what Ash is grabbing from his bag. This is it, he thinks. We have to make our move now. Dragonair, seeing the urgency of its trainer, acknowledges Go's resolve, which strengthens its own. Ash then equips himself with the final two things that could finally bring this to an end. His Z-Ring and the Dynamax band that Leon gave him. While Giovanni is unaware of what the Z-Ring can do, he laughs about the band. Do you even know how to use one of those? He says with a confident chuckle. Oh, I do, Ash responds, and they're what's going to bring us victory as he cracks a Dynamax pill. Wait, where did you get? But Giovanni is interrupted by James as he shrieks that he must have dropped it when he landed there next to Ash. Now angered at this revelation, Giovanni can do nothing but watch as Crocodile grows in size to match his clone. While this is unfortunate, you still can't match Mewtwo, and we will demonstrate the power of it one final time. However, Ash doesn't flinch, remaining steadfast in his confidence. You will lose, the boy says. Gio retorts with frustration in his voice, giving a command to Mewtwo to end this insolent brat for good. Mewtwo launches its most powerful Max Mind Mindstorm. Knowing he has one shot at this, Ash leads with the Max Darkness from Crocodile that collides for dominance as Dynamax energy begins to overwhelm the area, which causes the Tree of Beginning to react to the foreign energy source. But this goes unnoticed as the struggle begins to heat up. This is where Ash makes his next move. Pikachu. It's time. In the blink of an eye, their two movements become one as the ultimate attack of Pikachu fires a rainbow brilliance into the Max Darkness. This is the moment Ash was pushing for. Mewtwo has reached the end of its transformation as it shrinks back down to normal size while being consumed by the energy of the two attacks. Geo can do nothing but watch as his plans fall apart once again at the hands of this boy. Then, light swallows the area. Once the Rocket Leader can finally see, it is a sight that he wasn't expecting. Mewtwo still stands, while Ash's last two Pokemon have collapsed from the exhaustion of the battle. Only Ash himself is left to oppose him. Well, it seems your best wasn't good enough, Giovanni says. But Ash doesn't seem to hear Geo as he slowly shuffles towards the clone, seemingly drained of all of his energy. Geo muses that this is a perfect victory. Fine, I will give you one final word to the clone before the one you fought so hard for removes you from this world. Mewtwo, Ash whispers. You need to wake up, he says as he closes in till Ash finds himself looking at the feet of the clone. Ash uses what strength he has left to lift his head and look into the eyes of the clone. Smiling, now confident that he has won, Giovanni gives the order to end the boy. The clone begins to glow in a purple aura. Its eyes now white, blinding from the light. But Ash won't let it end here as he yells, Mewtwo, wake up, as he thrusts his hand into the gut of the clone. Suddenly, it begins to surge with energy. What's going on? Geo yells in frustration. Then he begins to feel heat in his jacket pocket. Reaching in, Giovanni pulls out the Master Dark Ball that he used to capture Mewtwo. The ball is becoming overloaded by the feedback of energy from what Ash just did to the clone. Before Geo can do anything, the ball explodes in his hand as Mewtwo then doubles over, unconscious from the overload of power. No, Geo screams. You will not do this to me again. But his rage is quickly turned to worry as an orange blob tries to consume the Rocket Leader from behind. What is this? He yells as more of the orange goo begins to envelop the area. Whatever it is, the mass is consuming anything that Team Rocket bought. Realizing she needs to move or be swallowed, Domino abandons her guard of Go, leaving him and his Pokemon still bound. Making her way to Giovanni, she tells him that they have failed here. They need to leave before they lose the chance to make any type of counterattack. Looking around, Giovanni realizes she's right, so they make their way to the last functioning teleportation pad. As it powers up, Giovanni tells Ash that he will regret interfering, all in due time. Then, in a flash, he has gone, leaving behind Jesse and James to fend for themselves. Go now finds himself in a precarious position, unable to move as the orange goo begins to make its way in his direction. He struggles to break free, but is unable to. Go tells Dragonair and Scorbunny to save themselves. Live a good life as the goo begins to swallow him slowly. Responding to their trainer, the two begin to struggle. Then, as Go takes his final breath, Dragonair lets out a cry as light erupts from his body. Glowing and growing, the dragon takes its final evolution, grabbing for its trainer, only for it to find it's too late. This causes the dragon type to break down with tears as Scorbunny is unable to process the situation. Then there's Jesse and James. They are fully aware of what's happening as they have witnessed it and been part of it once before. With them left for dead, Jesse and James take action, grabbing Fuji and running to the site to where both the Torp and Mewtwo lay. If there's anyone that can fix this, it has to be one of those two. Quickly, they find themselves pushing on Ash and Mewtwo to wake up, but they are totally unresponsive. This is where Sabrina and Misty finally arrive with her Alakazam teleporting them in. Both inquire about what's happening, demanding that Jesse and James give the answers needed. Sabrina, if we don't do something, then everyone will be absorbed by the goo. Sabrina looks around at both Ash and Mewtwo. Her eyes begin to glow as she levitates. Sabrina then projects an astral form that enters the two. In their minds, Sabrina speaks to them. The battle isn't over. You two must return. Now awake. Sabrina then ends her levitation, with Ash and Mewtwo beginning to stir. What they see is pending doom, as the tree's defenses are beginning to close in on them. What's going on? Ash, what are you doing here? The clone says. The last thing I remember was Giovanni, the battle, then nothing. Ash tells the clone what happened, as it comes to realize just who it is in his presence. Fuji? But how? I'm sure you perished on New Island. I would love for you to catch up, but we have an issue, Sabrina says. It's the tree. It's trying to clear out everything foreign, Ash says. Then Meowth points, saying it thinks it knows that the tree is reacting to. Above the group surges the Dynamax energy as it is trying to take over the Tree of Beginning. The tree. It's in pain, Mewtwo says. It's not sure how to handle this Dynamax energy. We need Mew, Meowth says. The last time this happened, Mew was able to save it. Well, that's a problem, the clone responds. I don't know where Mew is. I haven't been able to sense it for a long time. Then I and Alakazam will save the tree, Sabrina says. No, you can't, Ash responds. It can only be Mew. The two are one and the same. If anyone else will try, then they will be lost. Besides, it requires someone of great aura to channel the energy needed. Ash then holds up a time flower that activates with his aura. It reveals the events of the last time Ash was here, and a very sore spot when Lucario gave its life to save Mew and the tree. So we're doomed, Misty says, as the goo closes in. Maybe not, Dr. Fuji responds. Mewtwo, your DNA is majority that of Mew. You should be able to function in the same way it does. The clone commends Fuji on his ingenuity and that it hasn't faltered in the many years. Mewtwo reveals that it cannot. It has no energy left. It's taken everything the clone has just to stand. If there was a way to give you the power needed, then would you do it, says the doctor. The clone looks around, contemplating this request. I would, it responds. Then there is a way. Ash, is it? Do you have the stone? Opening his hand, Ash reveals a glowing stone. That looks like a Mega Stone, Sabrina says. It's not just that. It's the final piece of the puzzle that is Mewtwo. During your creation, I needed a source of energy that was strong enough to energize the DNA and create a stable being. After many failed attempts, I tried one last thing. A Mega Stone. I had found it on my travels to obtain the DNA of Mew. This is it, Mewtwo. You have always felt like something is missing. That's because it was. This stone is you. Take it, and you will know power like you have never before. Looking at the doctor, Mewtwo glares. Give it to me. Walking over, Ash asks Mewtwo if he's sure. Clone tells Ash that if he doesn't, then everything here will end. Life will end, and I will not be the emissary of this. The clone then grabs the stone, but the reaction isn't one that was expected. Mewtwo begins to convulse in pain. Energy surges around the clone. Mewtwo, listen to me. Don't fight the power. You must accept it if you wish to survive this. Wait, what do you mean survive, Ash says. You didn't say this was a danger. Normally, it wouldn't be, but with how weak it is, Mewtwo's body may reject the stone, causing an overload that could shatter the two of them together. Everyone looks on, praying that the clone has the resolve to survive. With a cry of pain and a flash of light, everyone is swallowed in the blind. Unable to see, Ash begins to feel around. He was only inches from the clone, but there is nothing. Thinking the worst, Ash begins to tear up as he forces his eyes open to see anything besides the spots. Slowly, things start to come into focus. At first, things are blurry, but he begins to make out figures. Then, a scream. Misty, Ash yells, but it's too late. The first thing he sees is the redhead being swallowed by the orange goo. It is at this moment that Ash's heart begins to break. His friends, they're all gone. Then he feels a pulse that draws the attention of everyone. A barrier of energy surrounds the humans as a creature descends. So, you were able to survive, Sabrina says. Turning, Mewtwo says that they have no time for pleasantries. If they wish to save those that the tree took, they must act now. But we're still missing one key thing, Ash says. We need an aura user, someone who is adept in the knowledge of it. But Sabrina says she doesn't believe they do. Since she arrived, she has been able to connect with the tree. She can see what needs to be done. While it will take energy, I think I will be able to play the missing part of the puzzle. That is, if Mewtwo will trust me. The clone nods as the goo begins to push on the mental shield. Listen, we will have to share our energy, but it will be up to you. You must feed the energy through the stone that is now part of you. If you don't, then could end us both. I understand, the clone says, but the moment we start this, I will have to drop my defenses, which means none of you will be protected. If it will save the Pokemon and bring back my friends, then do it, Ash says. Jesse and James nod in agreement. Knowing the risks, everyone braces themselves as the two psychic users begin to share their energies and life forces. As the barrier falls, a perfect feed between the two is created as Mewtwo begins to glow in a green aura. That's it, Ash says. You're doing it, but they need more time. If the goo gets to Sabrina, then it will absorb her and everything will fail. Realizing that there's no other choice, Ash, Fuji, Jesse, and James position themselves around the girl, protecting her from the blob. Slowly, one by one, they are absorbed as Mewtwo watches. The clone has the power to save them and wants to stop this, but is stopped by Fuji. You can save us all, just have faith. The last left standing is Meowth as it swipes at the goo. Hurry, we're out of time, the feline says. With one final push, Sabrina forces whatever energy she has left into the clone. Now glowing almost in an angelic light, Mewtwo enters the reservoir of energy that was tainted by the Dynamax energy. Bursting from the epicenter, the tree begins to stabilize as the orange goo slowly recedes, and one by one, all of the humans are released from their doom. First Jesse and James, Fuji, Ash, and Misty. Jesse and James cry because this is the second time that happened to them, and that's 2 times too many. Ash and Misty hug, just happy that they are both okay. But then Ash realizes, go, where? But there he is, a little freaked out about what just happened, but more confused by the Dragonite that is by him. That is, until it gives him a big hug. The dragon type squeezes its trainer while Scorbunny can do nothing but cry at their feet. While Go is grasping for air in the arms of the dragon, something on the ground catches his eye. Back with Ash, there is still one person they haven't seen, Mewtwo. Since it entered the tree, no one has seen it, but Sabrina says not to worry. It's faint, but she can feel the clone. However, there is something else with it, another presence. Then Mewtwo appears from the tree before the Mega Evolution fades, returning it to its normal form. But the clone is holding something. The group gathers to see if it's okay, but Mewtwo only acknowledges Ash. I think this belongs with you, the clone says, as Ash is presented with the Pokemon egg. When I was in the tree, I could feel the presence of another. It wouldn't let me go, like it was pulling me. Then I felt it, the egg. Immediately, it pulsated, and you were who I saw. This egg has been waiting for you, Ash. Our hero looks on in disbelief. This egg? Why would it wait for me? I don't know, Mewtwo says, but I'm sure you are the one it belongs with. Ash takes the egg with more questions than answers running through his mind, but his thoughts are interrupted when Mewtwo says that it's time that they go. It's not safe for this place. If they stay here, Giovanni could come back. Then the clone's eyes begin to glow, and in an instant, they find themselves in the former Saffron gym. Everyone is still a bit drained from the events of what just happened. However, everyone is accounted for. Mewtwo then tells the humans it must go before Sabrina stops it. If you need help, just call. Mewtwo stares the human down. So, another life touched by Ash. Mewtwo doesn't confirm this request, instead turning to Fuji. The old man asks one simple question. Is she still part of you? A moment of heavy silence falls upon the room, only for the clone to give an answer that breaks the old man's heart. I purged myself of them long ago. Then without another word, Mewtwo is gone, leaving Ash and his friends to contemplate the events of the day. With the insanity of the day behind him, the group decides that it's time for some much needed rest. So Ash, Go, and Misty head to the Pokemon Center so they can have their Pokemon looked at. Fuji agrees to stay with Sabrina and her family for the night, as it's the safest place, just in case Giovanni comes looking for him. That just leaves Jesse, James, and Meowth. Those 3 took off the moment they got the chance. They did their good deed by holding up their promise to Mewtwo, and even though the clone gave them a brief side-eye when they slunked out of the gym, it let them leave, confident they would uphold their end of the promise. Now we find ourselves at the Pokemon Center with Ash, Go, and Misty. The night is late and they are all exhausted. After lights out, Go says he has something he wants to show Ash. Our hero says sure, curious to what Go has. Go then reaches into his pocket, pulling out a strange looking rock. I found it when we had all been released from the tree, he says. I think Giovanni may have dropped it. Ash asks if he can see the rock, so Go hands it over, only for his eyes to light up. He's seen this before. Go thinks while Ash stares intently at the rock. This most recent event had them traveling everywhere. While at first Go didn't like it, now that it's over and the memories are fresh in his mind, he wouldn't trade it for everything. The boy's thoughts are then broken, with Ash telling Go that he's sorry. He promised to take him to Mew, and instead his life was put in danger. But Go tells him not to worry. While it was a bit much at times, now that it's over, I can look back and say, I did it. That's the best part, cause now I can't wait for our next adventure. A horror adventure, Ash says. Oh, you ain't getting rid of me that easily, Go says. If I want to meet Mew, then I'm confident that you will be the one that leads me there. Ash just smiles as the night fades on. The next morning, with the adventure seemingly over, Ash and Go say goodbye to Misty. She has to head back to the gym. As they wave goodbye, Ash tells Go he wants to say goodbye to Sabrina, so they head over to the former Saffron gym. This is her last day there, so they want to thank her for all the help. But when they enter, Ash is greeted by a very familiar sight. His Rotom phone then goes off as a coronation battle has been initiated, and a trainer that he hasn't seen in a very long time. Richie, Ash says as the boy and his Pikachu Sparky turn, realizing that Ash is their opponent for the coronation battle. The 2 friends greet each other, as do both Pikachu. This leaves Go by himself for a moment, but that awkward feeling of him meeting Ash's old friends isn't the same as it usually is. The only thing he could think of is that girl Eve was right, so Go greets this Richie person as the 2 catch up. Ash explains that Richie handed him his first major Pokemon League loss at the Indigo League. Well, Ash, it looks like you 2 are going to get a chance for a rematch. Smiling, Ash says that's right. Well, I did come here to battle Sabrina, Richie says, but I guess guess fate has decided it will be you instead. Well, shall we get started, Richie asks, as a Rotom Riff hovers above. Sabrina teleports in, saying that they can use the battlefield here in the gym. The Rotom Riff declares this will be a 2-on-2. The winner will be declared when one side is out of usable Pokemon. With a smile, Ash and Richie both accept this, taking their positions. Sabrina teleports Go to the stands so they can watch in style as Richie makes his first choice, calling on his Butterfree, Happy. Well, Richie, if you want an aerial battle, then you got one. Swallow, I choose you. Ash's Hoenn Flyer takes to the sky, demonstrating its superior speed right off the bat when Ash calls for an aerial ace. However, Richie isn't after an immediate advantage, calling for a Quiver Dance to raise the stats of his bug. Happy may be graceful in its dancing, but it's not enough to evade the super effective move as Swallow connects with all the power that it can. That's some great speed, Ash. Your Swallow is pretty powerful. If you think that's fast, you haven't seen anything yet. Swallow, use acrobatics. Once again, it appears that the bird has the advantage, as Richie tells Happy to hold strong. They will have their chance. With Swallow closing in, Richie eyes the distance, timing his command just right. Now, Happy, use Electro Web. Suddenly, Swallow finds itself trying to escape an electric attack, only for it to wrap around the bird, as Butterfree spins out of the way, allowing the bird to take a nosedive. Ash calls to Swallow to break the web, but the bird's wings are trapped. It is unable to move no matter what it does. Things are looking grim. That is, until Ash realizes there's one thing that is not bound: Swallow's tail feathers. With little time, Ash tells his bird to use them to position itself parallel to the ground. This causes Swallow to shift slightly so that its belly drags on the ground, dissipating the web before the bird actually crashes. In the final moment, Swallow spreads its wings, taking back to the air. While the bird did avoid any major damage, that attack still hit for a good chunk of it, which is then compounded when Ash realizes that Richie had used the time to have Happy use another Quiver Dance. Well, if that's the case, Swallow used Double Team. The bird clones itself, making it harder for Happy to hit as it tries another Electro Web. This gives our hero a moment of freedom, allowing them to recoup some of Swallow's lost health with a roost. Well, Ash, it seems we are at a stalemate. It would seem that way, Richie. The bird doubles its evasion, leaving Richie to consider his options. But in the moment of Swallow's Double Team, Richie has an idea. Happy, use Quiver Dance, he calls. Try to match Swallow's Double Team. The Butterfree does so, demonstrating a spinning maneuver that Richie uses, calling for another Electro Web. Both trainers watch as the webs begin to spew across the aerial space, catching all of Swallow. Ash sees this as a moment of opportunity, calling for acrobatics. The bird pushes through, just outpacing the webs to strike Happy with a devastating flying move. At first, it looks like a clean hit, that is, until Swallow surges with electricity. Then, what happens becomes unveiled. Dancing with the web put it in a waving pattern. This allowed Happy to create a barrier of electricity that Swallow had to get past if it wanted to land an attack. But the repeated Quiver Dance raised Happy's speed to the point that the strike from its opponents wouldn't be fast enough once they actually went on the attack. Now Ash's Flyer is wrapped beak to tail feathers with an Electro Web. Ash can do nothing but watch as Happy attacks with an Air Slash that sends Swallow spiraling to the ground with a deafening thud that brings the first battle to an end. Recalling his bird, Ash commends Richie. He didn't think that Swallow could lose that one, but it's nice to see his friend hasn't let his skills dull since their last battle. To be honest, I thought you may have had that one at the end, Ash. That could have gone either way. Well, either way, it was a good battle. So, speed didn't work. I guess I'll try defense. Snorlax, I choose you. The super heavyweight hits the field, ready for a battle after the loss it took at the hands of Team Rocket. Richie doesn't know what it is that Ash is up to, but he knows he can't wait around to find out. So, he orders another Electro Web, figuring that Snorlax is too big to dodge it. However, this is where he finds out that he couldn't have been more wrong when Ash calls for Snorlax to jump. Ash really meant defense, as Richie watches the tons of fun push itself from the ground with the speed that it shouldn't be capable of. The bear takes the Electro Web head on as it continues into the air. Before Richie can react, Snorlax connects with Happy as the Electro Web is still active, turning its own move against it. This stuns the butterfly long enough for Snorlax to connect with an ice punch that drops Butterfree, ending the battle and tying it up 1v1. Well, Ash, it seems your defense-only strategy worked. Good call. Thanks, Richie. I knew Snorlax could take that Electro Web. Well, if it worked for you, then it will work for me too. Go, Cruise! As the ball pops for the final combatant, Richie reveals his trump card, a Tyranitar. Suddenly, Ash can feel his heart beat in his chest. After everything that happened with Mewtwo, the challenge of a normal battle is just what he needs. All the stress from the last few weeks, all of his worries, they melt away in that one moment. Ash can't help but smirk, which catches the attention of Richie. Hey, what are you up to over there, Ash? I know you have to have have something on your mind. It's nothing. I'm just glad we get to have this battle. Me too, Richie replies. Ash then tells his opponent not to hold anything back. He wants Richie's best. My best, he says. You hear that, Cruz? Ash wants your best. Then, let's hold nothing back, he says as he reveals his best, a keystone. Without hesitation, the young rival activates it, and Tyranitar takes on its most devastating form. You feel that, Snorlax? Snore, the Mon replies. Both it and Ash are feeling the same thing, the excitement of a battle with a friend. The start is called, and things become hazy when the ability of Richie's ace kicks in. Sandstream. With the Mega Evolution, the intensity of the Sands Typhoon is increased, causing Snorlax bits of chip damage, as well as it hiding its opponent. Ash yells to be ready. They could come from anywhere. You have no idea how right you are, Ash, Richie thinks to himself as he calls for a Stone Edge. Hearing this command, Ash tells Snorlax to stay in one spot and look for a change in the direction of the storm. While this would normally be a good idea, Ash and his Mon quickly find out why in this particular case it is not, as there is no change in the storm. Instead, just a barrage of stones that ride the wind, striking from every direction that carries them. Snorlax, Ash yells. Luckily, it's okay, though that hit was a little on the intense side. Well, Ash, Snorlax definitely is impressive. Normally, that would be a one-hit move, so I guess we'll have to turn up the pressure. Cruz, Stone Edge once more. Not good, Ash thinks. If we can't see, then Snorlax won't be able to defend itself. It's here that Ash has an idea. If they won't change the direction of the storm with the attack, then they will. Snorlax, use Ice Punch. Strike the ground all around you. Understanding Ash's idea, Snorlax follows through with the orders as the stones begin to close in. Whatever you're trying won't work, Ash, but Richie quickly realizes he may have spoken too soon. As with each punch, ice begins to build on itself until Snorlax is surrounded by multiple pillars of ice that render his stone edges useless from the distance that they are firing them from. As the ice and stones clash and shatter, the wind begins to alter its course, revealing Cruz. There, Ash yells, Snorlax, use Giga Impact! With all the might behind its tons, Snorlax charges the Mega Evolution. Seeing they are exposed, Richie orders a Brick Break to counter, but Tyranitar isn't able to get into position for the counter before it is cracked with the girth of Snorlax rocking its boulders in a very hard way. Yeah, that's it, Ash says, but this came at a cost as Snorlax is now unable to move, and Richie takes full advantage with Cruz completing its attack. This is a direct hit, but most of the power is absorbed by Snorlax's belly, allowing it to just barely hang on. Realizing he has no choice, Ash calls for the only thing that will keep the heavyweight in this battle: rest. Snorlax falls back into a deep slumber, much to the shock of not only Richie and Cruz, but everyone watching. Okay, Ash, if you want to hand me a free win, then I won't complain. Cruz, use Thunderfang. Sparking at its mouth, the rock type chomps down on Snorlax's arm, but this has little effect. This is where Ash smiles. If you want to affect my Snorlax when it's sleeping, then you will have to do better than that, cause that was just a tickle to the slumbering pile of blubber. Over with Go, he remarks that Ash has put in a lot of confidence in the strategy with Snorlax. What makes him think that it will be able to wake up in time? Sabrina tells Go she knows that he has been traveling with Ash for a while now. You should know that he's got a knack for finding a way, so let's just watch and see what happens. So, Go watches as Cruz makes his next attack at the command of Richie as it brings down a Brick Break on the head of Snorlax. That's the least cushioned place on Snorlax, so this should have some massive damage, Richie thinks, but Ash smiles. That was your big mistake, he says, as the sandstorm has run its course, allowing both trainers to see what's going on. The sight they both see is an ice punch that is in the gut of Cruz. Richie is confused. How? Oh, that's simple, Ash says. I made sure my Snorlax was good and hungry before we came here. If it's hungry, then it won't sleep for long until it eats next. And after the battle we had yesterday, its appetite is at its maximum. So all your Brick Break did was wake it up, and it's angry. Snorlax pushes its fist deeper into Cruz as the stunned rock type tries to fight off the onset of freezing from the ice punch, but nothing. The Mega is now encased in a tomb of ice. Richie calls to Cruz, hoping he can get through to it, but it's no use. Snorlax, let's wrap this up. Use Giga Impact. Snorlax puts everything it has into a jump, catching major air, nearly hitting the roof of the building. Everyone then watches as a full ton comes crashing down on Tyranitar, ending the battle as Snorlax bellies jiggles with the rumble of hunger. Richie just smiles. Ash, that was a good battle. I didn't think your Snorlax would be able to stand up to Cruz. Thanks, Richie. I'm glad that we got the chance to battle again, Ash says. It's here that the Rotom phones update, with Ash's rank moving to 5503 103, while Richie's drops to 51.93. While Ash is excited on the grounds that he's gained, he wonders why Richie is still higher. His rival explains that he was almost in the 3,000 range, so that's why he jumped and Richie fell. But if you look here, Ash, I've had more battles than you, so my ranking will be higher based on averages. So either I battle more in the Coronation Tournament, or I beat an opponent that has a far better score than me. Sounds easy enough, Ash says. Right, Pikachu? The mouse seconds its trainer's enthusiasm, with Sabrina joining the duo. That was a great battle for you two. I'm glad it was the last battle that'll happen in this gym. Ash, now wanting to finish the reason that he came here, thanks Sabrina for all the help that she gave him. He's glad that he can call her a friend. The newest member of the Kanto Elite Four smiles as everyone takes the rest of the day to catch up. The next morning, we find our heroes in Vermilion City. They were supposed to be meeting Chloe, but she isn't at the pier where the boat is set to leave in less than an hour. Knowing they can't miss the boat, the duo begin to panic as they ask around if anyone has seen her. It takes a few minutes, but eventually Go and Scorbunny are able to get some valuable information. Chloe was tired of waiting on them as they were running late due to the extra day in Saffron, so she decided to head to the evolution lab that sits just across the street from the pier. Now with the lead, Ash and Go head over. Luckily, it doesn't take long for them to find her, as she is surrounded by a bunch of people in lab coats. However, it seems tensions are high, as the people around her are accusing Chloe of theft due to a Pokemon that has seemingly found its way to her side. Hey, I know that Pokemon, Ash says, as Go uses his phone to confirm that it's an Eevee. It is at this point that Chloe is unable to answer any questions, as the pressure of the situation is getting to her. Seeing this, Go steps in very aggressively, telling them to back off. Chloe would never steal a Pokemon. This silenced the group for a moment until they realize this boy isn't anyone important and begin to push back at him, but Go won't let this rest as he continues the argument. This leaves Ash and Pikachu alone for a moment, but it's not a solitary one, as he overhears something that may be of grave concern. There is a guy with what seems to be his girlfriend. They are talking about Sabrina and how he used to train under her. The guy says he did, but Sabrina was too difficult. She wouldn't let him do things the easy way, so he just left. It's not like I was learning anything there anyways. Right, the girl says, but wasn't there a Pokemon that she had given you before you left? The guy thinks for a second. Oh, you mean that stupid ghost type that likes to joke around too much. Yeah, that thing wasn't a gift. It just followed me wherever I went. It wouldn't take battles seriously, and don't like to stay in its ball, so I just got rid of it. This triggers Ash because he knows instantly who this guy is talking about. Hey, what did you do? Ash yells. His tone is so intense that it even stops the argument between Go and the lab goons. Both he and Chloe look at Ash, who is visibly upset at the man he is talking to. I'm not going to say it again, Ash yells. Where is Haunter? The man, now visibly uncomfortable, tells Ash to chill. It's not that serious, but to Ash, this is. It's the worst thing he could do to a friend. Now things are to the point to where Ash has tears in his eyes, grabbing the man's shirt, demanding to know what he did. Now embarrassed in front of his girlfriend and visibly uncomfortable with everyone staring at him, the man tells Ash that he left it in an abandoned house just around the bend. He said he would come back for it, but never intended to. The man then tries to defend himself, but Ash doesn't care as he takes off before he can get a word out. Ash, the boat Go says, but he is gone before he can even hear him. Ash is now running through the streets, telling Pikachu they have to hurry. It isn't long before the two find themselves at the abandoned house that they were told about. Out of breath, Ash runs to the doors that are locked securely. Pikachu, use Iron Tail, he says. The mouse breaks through the door with no care for anything. Both it and Ash know they need to hurry. Once inside, Ash begins to call for Haunter, but there is nothing. Ash explores every room in the house, calling to his old friend, but each room is emptier than the last. Ash's anger turns to sadness. Walking now to the steps of the house, Ash sits down, the boat he is supposed to be on in less than 10 minutes, sounding its final calls for the last boarding. With a sigh, Ash pets Pikachu on its head, saying he hopes that Haunter didn't wait for too long and moved on to something better. That guy didn't deserve it as a friend. Both just sit, not really caring if they make the boat, while Ash's phone rings, but he really doesn't feel like answering it. He just doesn't want to be bothered right now. It is at this moment a shiver runs up his spine. I know this feeling, Ash thinks, as a smile begins to break his slouch. Haunter, he says, as he and Pikachu turn to be met with two bombs that explode in their faces. From within the cloud of smoke, a very familiar shape appears, but it's eyeless, until Haunter reaches into its mouth to pull them out with a joking cackle. Ash is excited to see the ghost type. It's been so long. The ghoul is excited to see its old friend as well, and the two begin to catch up. Ash tells Haunter that his friend abandoned it here. He never intended to come back for it, but Ash can help it get revenge if it wants. The ghost type floats for a second, contemplating this thought, but it quickly gives a nod. So Ash leads it back to the evolution lab. However, Ash doesn't find the guy, only Chloe and Go, but they are not alone. Eevee is with them. Ash quickly asks where the guy went. Go explains that he was so embarrassed by what happened that he left as quickly as he could. Sighing, "Well, Haunter, I tried." The boat then lets out a final horn signaling it will begin departing immediately. Go urges Ash that they have to leave. The boat won't be back for another week. Turning, Ash tells Haunter that he has to go. Then he presents it with a Pokeball, telling the ghost type that he knows it doesn't like Pokeballs, but he would love to actually have it come along on a journey with him. Haunter looks at the ball with nothing but silence. "Look, Haunter, the Saffron gym is closed, and the tower we met at has been rebuilt, so unless you want to head back to that old creepy house by yourself, maybe you should see the world with me." Haunter then disappears, to which Ghost says, "I guess we have our answer, Ash." But as soon as he finishes the sentence, Haunter reappears with 3 bombs that immediately explode. Coughing, Ash says, "Yep, we did," as Haunter taps the ball, allowing Ash to finally capture it. "So, a new friend, Ash?" "No, just an old one, with new memories," he says, as our heroes run to catch their boat. And this is where we are going to end this part of the story today, as Ash and Pikachu's adventure in the Kanto region have come to a close for now, but this story is far from over. So, with the end of the Kanto arc, I have some questions for you guys. How do you feel I've handled this Pokemon Journeys rewrite to this point? Did I give closure to all the hanging threads from the first season of the anime? Did you enjoy the Team Rocket arc that I created in this series? What was the egg that Ash got at the Tree of Beginnings? And are you glad that Haunter is finally on Ash's team? Where do you think Ash and his friends are heading to next? Let me know in the comments down below. And that's all we have for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed the content that you saw today, and I really hope you come back for future episodes. I really hope you'll consider following me on some of my other platforms, maybe on Twitter, or joining my Discord if you like following behind the scenes things, or if you want to just get to know the community that I've slowly been able to build here the last couple of years on YouTube. Also, if you want to help support the channel a little bit more, considering joining my Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member. I offer exclusive content on both of those platforms for the different tiers, and it's content that I'm sure you won't want to miss out, as it's going to be a long time before it comes to YouTube. But with all that being said, I really hope that you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.